Are you aware that the gap between your wages and inflation is a ticking time bomb for your purchasing power? The past few years have seen wages generally lag behind inflation, largely due to the post-pandemic surge in prices that continues to ripple through the economy. According to a recent study by Bankrate, inflation has risen by a whopping 22.7%, while wages have only grown by 21.5% since January 2021. This has created a current wage-to-inflation gap of negative 1.2%, meaning that overall, income hasn't kept pace with price increases. Why it matters? The disparity between wages and inflation means that even with a bump in paychecks, most people are effectively experiencing a drop in their overall purchasing power. However, researchers have found that certain industries have seen their wages not only keep up with, but even outpace inflation since the pandemic. What to know? Bankrate used data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, specifically the Consumer Price Index (CPI) and Employment Cost Index (ECI), to measure sector-specific wage growth against inflation since 2021. They discovered that 4 industries have seen wages soar faster than prices over this period: accommodations and food services. Earnings in this category have seen the fastest growth, rising by 27.5% and exceeding inflation by 4.8%. Leisure and hospitality, wage growth here has also created a significant lead with a 4.1% margin over inflation. Healthcare and social assistance. This sector follows with a 1.7% wage-to-inflation gap. Retail. Earnings here have outpaced price increases, albeit by a narrow 0.5%. Experts like Elise Gould, senior economist at the Economic Policy Institute, explain that areas such as leisure and hospitality experienced much faster wage growth coming out of the pandemic due to the large number of jobs lost and the need for employers to attract and retain workers. This effect was more pronounced for those at the lower end of the wage distribution, who needed more incentives to return to less compensated roles, especially with financial supports in place during the pandemic. Dr. Ahu Yildirimaz, President-CEO of the Coleridge Initiative, noted that sectors where wages have kept up not only faced intense competition for workers, but also started from relatively lower wage levels, making percentage increases appear larger. But here's where it gets controversial. Some sectors have fared much better than others. In contrast, wages for those in manufacturing, professional and business services, financial activities, and construction have significantly lagged behind inflation. Education has fared the worst, with a 17.9% rise in pay falling short of inflation by 4.8%. The education conundrum. Educators have long struggled with the gap between income growth and inflation. Despite the largest increase in starting teacher salaries in 15 years in 2024, teacher wages have actually decreased by an estimated 5.1% over the past decade when accounting for inflation. This is because education systems face rigid pay structures that can't easily adjust salaries or prices like private employers can. What people are saying. Martha Gimbel of the Yale Budget Lab pointed out that while a wage increase is something earned, inflation is something that happens outside of one's control. It feels unfair to many that their hard-earned wage increases are being eroded by inflation. Looking ahead, Ahu Yildirimaz noted that demographics and immigration will play a critical role in shaping labor supply, while AI adoption will influence demand. In service industries where human interaction is harder to automate, wage pressure is likely to remain elevated. What happens next? Bankrate predicts that wage growth will match post-pandemic inflation by the third quarter of 2026. However, the pace of inflation remains uncertain, with forecasts suggesting it will broadly hold steady at around 3.0% for the remainder of 2025. But will wage growth keep pace? And this is the part most people miss. The impact of President Donald Trump's tariffs on inflation could significantly sway how quickly wages catch up. As experts weigh in, we want to hear from you. Do you think wages will ever truly outpace inflation? Or is this gap here to stay? Share your thoughts in the comments below.